If your partner is not on board, you're going to have a tough time in real estate because let's face it, building wealth requires both of you all to work as a team. What if they're not on board? That is exactly what we're going to talk about today. How to have an honest conversation with your significant other so they understand what's at stake.
Why is it so important to have this conversation? If you're in a serious relationship or you're married or you just have a significant other, then your money decisions is going to affect both of y'all. And with real estate investing, it's not just a personal financial choice, it's a lifestyle, it's a commitment. There's a lot that goes along with it. With me, I'm kind of like, I'm just going to do this and think about myself. And so when then I got into a relationship with my husband, then I had to like include him, and that took a lot of conversations. He didn't know much about real estate. Actually, he didn't really know about anything because he bought his first house with me. So that was when he started learning about anything related to real estate. In this episode, we're just going to talk mostly and focus on the real estate conversation. I did do a more detailed episode on how to have a money goals and financial goal setting with your significant other. And in the Money Cheesemate podcast, it's episode 118. It just released this week. So make sure you go check it out as well. But in this one, we're just going to focus on talking about real estate.
How do you have this conversation? Talk about why you want to invest in real estate. And this is a little cliche for relationships, like you have to communicate. But yeah, that is the gist of it. You do have to talk to your partner about it. You have to break it down also because chances are is that you've been thinking about it for a while. And a lot of times the hesitation for your partner or the person that you're sharing your life with is not even knowing what it is. So you have to explain, give them like a crash course. And it might be easier for them to, maybe they're a visual learner. Maybe you need to share a video or a podcast, hint, 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 because they have us. So they can learn more about it. Maybe they need to see people like you actually doing it. So talk about the benefits and how it affects you. Don't just focus on the pros because we have the tendency of just like painting everything with a nice brush and nice colors. Make sure they understand the risks too, because with any investments, there is a risk attached to it. Address the concerns. And finally, discuss what's your plan so they're aware or know already what to expect. For example, when you're talking about buying a duplex, think about the timeline that's going to take of you acquiring that property. So if you're thinking 6 months ahead, then plan for those 6 months. Get as detailed as possible. As a real estate investor, you should always do this anyways.
At the end of the day, they're human, right? They have their own thoughts and fears and all that stuff. So what if they say no? Like you go over there and you sit down and talk to them and are like, "Hey, this is what I want to do. I want to invest in real estate." And they're like, no, absolutely not in this." What do you do? What do you do? This is something that you want to do. Well, the first thing is definitely do not get upset. The last thing you want to do is lash out and start a fight, and then it just makes everything worse because they're going to shut down, and that's going to next time that you try to have this conversation, they're just not going to want to have it because it started a fight. There's risk that comes with real estate. There's a lot of stigma, especially for like a real estate investor. You hear about the landlords and all these issues, or maybe they had a bad experience. And also if they're like a Latina, or in the Latino community, we have a lot of fears and financial anxiety that comes with it, or we just don't know, which also adds to the fear. Like we may be scared of the unknown. It's a big thing. It sounds complicated when you start researching about it, learning about real estate investing. It's a big investment, and also you're dealing with tenants. So that can be scary to them. When you're having this conversation, think about that and address those fears and their concerns, and just go with some compassion. And then another thing, they might just not have the same financial education, and that's one thing we'll talk about in a little bit when we share our stories, is that obviously you were the one that took the initiative to go learn about real estate investing. So you're coming in with more knowledge, and they may feel some type of way that they feel like they don't know as much, so they might be hesitant or resistant to it, or maybe they're not good with finances. So there's some financial avoidance there. So take that into account. Start looking at videos. Start listening to podcasts like hello this podcast. Join a community. That's one of the biggest things, because you might not see investors that look like you or are doing it or whatever. So go out there. There's Facebook groups. There's other like memberships that you can join, and you'll see that it's just regular people like me and Lynn are just regular people just out here doing it. And so then you kind of see that it's something that you can actually do. It's reachable. You get to talk to each other, motivate, and all that. So maybe that could help as well. But just know that it might take some time.
Also, there's money, it's so complicated, and there is a lot of guilt around money. It's tied to your family, to your culture, to your survival. A lot of us grow up learning how to get by and not feel like it once you're getting ahead, right? There is a lot of guilt about that too. When money enters the picture, it brings a whole emotional crew with it: loyalty, fear, gratitude, shame, and love. And most of all, avoidance. It's not a flow, it's actual protection. If you're doing better financially, it means somebody else didn't get the chance. And joy is mixed with grief and it's confusing. So your brain it kind of shuts down and says, like, let's just not deal with it at all. What makes this heavier is that in the Latino culture, often teaches love through giving, right? The boundaries. So saying I can't with money feels like saying like I don't love you. And it just turns your financial decisions into emotional landmines. So here's something people don't say out loud enough. Sometimes avoidance is the only way someone keeps their identity intact. If you fully step into financial confidence, you might have to admit you want a different life, set limits with the people that you love, and accept that your parents' struggle wasn't your fault. How do you have the talk? You have to acknowledge that everybody else is like raised up differently. Not everybody has the same amount of information that you do. Not everybody's into the same amount of real estate investment or investments or information that you are looking at too.
It's all things that you have to keep in mind of um, your significant other's background, and chances are, if you've been with them long enough, you kind of know like their just background, right? With my husband, at the beginning, and it's one thing again, just touching on episode 118 of the Money Cheeseman podcast, I kind of shared that a little bit as well, of how I had to kind of have a reality check with myself, because I am very ambitious and very motivated, because I've always felt like I needed to prove myself and all that. And my life was different from his life. He had some obstacles that came up and everything. So he made some different financial choices than I did. And so when I started investing in real estate, I started doing it before we were together, and throughout the time that we were dating and stuff like that. So I kind of like mentioned it here. He knew that I was investing in real estate, but never really like sat down and did like, oh, this is this and that or whatever. So he just knew it. And then once we got together, when we were going to buy our first house, that's when I really had to kind of have more of the financial talk. And that was not very easy for me. I had a lot of financial anxiety, which came out as like, I guess, judging him and stuff, because then I felt like I was doing well, and then he had this extra stuff like debt and everything. So that caused a lot of a few arguments at the beginning, because I came at the conversation very wrong. And so then I had to like pull back, and I had to like, okay, I need to figure out how to have a better talk, and figure out my own anxiety because that's coming up wrong when I'm trying to have this talk. And so then we actually sat down and talked about our finances and all that stuff, and then we created a plan. And so now that we overcame that obstacle, now we had to like also have a talk that hey, now we're together, but I still want to invest in real estate because now we want to kind of like replace his income so that he's financially free and not have to worry about it. So we just sat down and created a plan of what I would like to do, which is invest over here, and I want to challenge myself. And so I had to sit down and tell him like what that meant, like the risks and all that, and how I needed his support. And so now I have been on the hunt for a property and I've been including him in everything. He's walked all the properties that I've looked at and get his input and give him a chance. And I have to kind of keep myself contained to not be like a know-it-all and let him, like explore real estate because I want him to enjoy it as well. So he's getting excited. And I was talking to Lynn earlier offline about the deal that I'm working on right now. And so he's super excited. It's nice to see the wheels turning and him getting all these ideas and now he's super motivated. So when I switched the tactic, then he came on board and now he's even excited and now we're creating this together, our investment plans and stuff. So, yeah, definitely don't do like how I did at the beginning. It was definitely wrong of me to go about it that way and not have that like compassion and stuff. But I matured, I learned, and now we have better talks and yeah, I'm excited to start investing in real estate as a couple now. It's definitely becoming more of a team. He's gonna do all the labor stuff, like doing all the maintenance and stuff. I get to do all the fun stuff. Um, you know, yeah, I get to be getting the money and doing all the financial stuff and finding the properties, and he gets to do projects. He loves doing projects, so I think that's what got him excited to see, like, yeah, I'm gonna replace this deck. I could do that deck. I'm gonna do the drywall. That's an easy fix. Blah blah blah. So it was pretty nice.
I was in a similar position in which I'm ahead in the game per se. Of I was the one that was, I know my numbers, I know my income, I know my expenses, I know my savings, I know what I'm investing on, and I'm able to track that quite easily because I've been doing it for years. When I met my significant other, obviously we're in different spaces, so like just bringing up the conversation, like not even about real estate, but talking about debt and income, I had to realize really quickly that we were starting from different steps in the same staircase. So I, just like many people, I'm sure, try to rush the conversation into like bringing in the computer with the spreadsheet with like, this is what we're doing, this is what we're spending. And immediately my boyfriend closed down and didn't want to acknowledge like any of his numbers. And I was just like, what do you mean? Like, this is what we do. This is like how it's done. And he was just like, no, 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 I don't want to think about that right now. Like, I don't even know like that I don't even know the actual number and I don't want to talk about it right now. And then me being the person that's like, okay, well, if you don't want to talk about it right now, then how about Monday? How about Friday? How about next week? How about like in 3 weeks? I'm gonna stop talking about it right now, but you need to give me a date so we can revisit the topic. And he felt rushed. And not only did he feel rushed, he felt judged. Like I needed him to keep up with me per se in a way, and that was not kind to me, right? Like I had to acknowledge that the we're starting from different starting points, and I had many time or many years of thinking about even investing as well. And for him it wasn't I think that he was already working towards. So there needs to be an understanding. What I needed to give him was to give him a space and like not rush the process of like you need to do this right now because I'm already over here. Like that's not allowing him to even ask questions, right? That he doesn't even know what I'm doing. Really, most of the times that are things that I have a plan for, he hasn't even know what step one or step two or step three. So I definitely had to internalize that particular thing. Like, okay, we are in a different space, and then I need him to allow to come with me and not just me come to him. And then dumped all of this information when he is not even prepared to take it. So don't be like me, and definitely be kinder to your significant other because like we mentioned, money comes with a lot of guilt, a lot of avoidance, a lot of expectations. And the worst thing that you can do is to build resentment towards your partner because, like Violeta mentioned, you have to work at this together. You have to be a team. And it's beautiful to see that your husband is like getting into it and planning all these things. And I also want to mention that you have to share the vision. Like, what are you doing this for? Because as a team, as a partner that you're going to bring them into together, like together, you're going to get there. That means only that you're going to have more time for each other in the future, that you're going to have more freedom, that you're not going to have to work as hard. You're not going to have to exchange your money. You exchange your time for money all the time. And that retirement that's closer than actually what it's going to be when you're take out 65, right? That is what it's allowing you. That's what the vision is. Like you and like my boyfriend and I, somewhere with the view, drinking a little coconut water after we went on a hike on a Tuesday morning. That is the vision for me.
We have the a vision, and it's so nice to be working as a team. So yeah, just try to get your significant other on board, because you can't do it alone. All it's going to do is build that resentment. And at the end of the day, it affects both of your finances. If something goes wrong with that investment, like, um, and your partner was not on board, they didn't want to do it, whatever, like that's going to possibly end the relationship, right? Because you went out and did something that, with your finances that affect both of y'all, and it caused some financial strain and everything. And that's the number one reason that people break up is finances. So make sure that you take the time to have this conversation, and get them on board, have that real and honest conversation. And yeah, that's pretty much our tips, and how to have that really needed conversation. Let me know if you have had that conversation with your spouse, and let us know. Maybe we could share more tips, or if you had that conversation, share your tips. If you're watching on YouTube, share below or send it to us on Instagram. But yeah, don't forget to share and subscribe if you're watching on YouTube, and we'll see you in the next episode. Bye.